Chapter 9, The Royal Tea. Hopefully you're all having a good day. Trystan glares at the grinning twins. The accusation that Juliana once had an affair with another thorn hangs heavily in the air. You're lying. Juliana could barely stand the lot of you. Relax, Trystan. It was before she was forced into accepting you as a suitor. It's not like she cheated. Though she did seem much more passionate about her first thorny love than she was for you. Stepping to Trystan's expression darkens, placing a hand on his arm. You two are sure about this? Because I need more details. Casper stretches out, reclining against Amika's knee. I found portions of letters Juliana wrote to her former lover. Likely that letter used in Trystan's trial was one of them, after the relationship soured. You knew, and you were just going to let the prosecution slander him. I wanted to see how it turned out. And in these letters, did my late fiancé ever indicate to whom she was speaking? Right now, no names. It all seemed very secret and clandestine. But she was much more explicit in other ways. She loved the word pulsating, didn't she, Casper? How are you so sure those letters weren't addressed to me? Because they were from years back, and you are the only other thorn she mentioned in them, not kindly. We put them back where we found them when we were done. They held no true value. And where did you find them? Amika and Casper exchange a loaded glance. Finally, Casper nods to the fireplace. We fed them back to the flames from which they came. They're long gone by now. Trystan stares into the smoldering fire for a long, agonizing moment. Then he looks back at his siblings. A storm churns in his eyes. How convenient it must be for you that your gossip is always so unverifiable. He turns and strides from the room, fists clenched. You're about to follow when one final question occurs to you. Who else had access to the fireplace? Everybody's gonna have access to the fireplace. It's a fireplace. When did you find those letters? Do you remember? How could I forget? I found them nearly 8 years ago. The week after Juliana took her little tumble overboard. You dash out of the room after Trystan, Amika's cloying voice fading behind you. Americans, it's always so rude. You catch sight of Trystan at the far end of the corridor. He bursts into Margaret's room and you rush after him. Best friends discuss their sordid affairs and confide each other, don't they? I was only 16 when she died, Trystan. She wouldn't have shared her life with a child. Trystan glances at you as you pointedly close the door. You can see his hands are shaking. Margaret, do you think it's actually possible that Juliana was involved with another thorn before Trystan? She did spend most of her life around her family, and she was close to pass long before... Don't even suggest Sebastian. Trystan... We can't rule anybody out. Do you understand what this means if Juliana was involved with one of your siblings? Then one of my siblings might have murdered her. Yes, I understand that perfectly. Do you think Juliana and not just Des could be connected? Bass fell out with both of them. With this information, potentially. But it's been so long. Maybe he murdered Juliana to revenge for leaving him, then framed Trystan to get him out of Dracovia and out of the line of succession. And when Trystan returned and was absolved, he tried again with Nadja. Juliana can't have been in love with him. She could stand him by the end. She used to duck behind topiaries to avoid him. Didn't she hate you at the beginning of your engagement? Feelings can change. And Juliana and Bass only truly loathe each other after the act was stalled. It is possible, Trystan. Trystan rubs a hand over his neck, his brow furrowing with confusion. It would explain why he hates me so much. But why wouldn't she have told me that she'd been with Sebastian or whoever else it was? Maybe Juliana was over it. It's possible to fall passionately in love for 2 weeks and then just move on. Maybe she thought her ex felt the same. Juliana wasn't flighty. If the press discovered a former liaison, can you imagine the headlines? It's fairly obvious Julie was afraid. She was in danger and hesitant to bring you in. This is all speculation. How do we get answers from a woman who died 8 years ago? Margaret looks away, biting her lip. Well, you could ask her mothers. They won't talk to me. They didn't even attend the coronation. They can't turn the crown prince out of their home, and they, like me, if I ask nicely. So we pop over for some tea, expect them to answer the questions of the man they're convinced to murder their daughter. Don't forget the detective who proved his evidence. Eloise will be hostile, but Naomi has always been level-headed. If you impress her, she'll hear you out. She may even help you. And how exactly do we impress a countess? Naomi and Eloise are descended from noble houses. Despite the emotion you saw at the trial, they both value etiquette and decorum highly. Which means they'll more than likely be inclined to talk to you if you compose yourself more than a socialite than a hardened American detective. Chloe, it'll go a long way winning in their trust. You don't know them like I do. Margaret pulls open the doors of her armoire, revealing a lacy tea-time dress, perfect for sipping tea in the countryside. Doesn't look bad. You want me to dress in florals and lift my pinky during interrogations? Are you serious? You would look adorable in a floral spray, Max. Do you have a floral crown hidden in here somewhere? It's tea, Trystan, not Coachella. Fine. Dress me up, teach me how to eat cucumber sandwiches. Margaret starts pulling bolts of fabric from around her bedroom, holding them critically against your skin. You can eat your sandwiches however you like, so long as you keep your mouth shut when you chew. Tea is much simpler than dinner. In Dracovia, the only rule you need to remember is to always allow your host to pour for you. Kind of like Japan. And allow them time to sip from every new pot before you, as a show of faith that they haven't poisoned it. That doesn't mean they haven't poisoned the cup or the food. That sort of thinking is how you survive in Dracovia. But you won't need to worry about that. The Gorgescos are progressives. They're not trying to harm you, even if they do hate you. What will they try? To keep the conversation light, end it as quickly as possible. If you want answers quickly about Julie, you'll have to be subtle. Keep them talking. And where are we on the pinky situation? Keep it tucked. What about Alice? Maybe she could soften them up a bit? Afraid not. Eloise finds canines distasteful. She and Juliana always disagreed on it. Don't worry, I'll take care of Alice while you're away. Now go, and let me work on some magic. I'll have the invitation and your outfit ready by tomorrow morning. Tristan's hand brushes against yours as you step into the corridor. I had hoped that our first trip out into Dracovian countryside would be a romantic one. But Trystan, questioning your former mother-in-laws is so romantic, that'll be time for romantic trips after we get to the bottom of this. Anything can happen on a long drive to the countryside. Even if I'm the one driving. You take Tristan's hand in yours, gently brushing your thumb along the ridges of his knuckles. You should know by now that I like a challenge. Trystan risks taking your hand and pressing a brief but longing kiss to your temple. Thank you for helping me pursue this lead. I know the twins were only trying to hurt me, but it feels important. I agree. Trystan smiles at you, lets your hand go. You reluctantly part ways to your separate bedrooms. The next morning, you begin a long drive to the Dracovian countryside, discussing your strategy on the way. Tristan's driver pulls to a stop by the massive front steps and opens your passage door with a flourish. Here we are. Welcome, my prince, to the Gregesco's summer estate. You pull on the edge of your skirt as you climb out of the car. Why is lace so itchy? Beauty is pain, Chloe, and you wear it so well. Stop enjoying this. Apologies, but I plan to enjoy looking at you in that pretty little getup every bit as much as I'll enjoy pulling it off of you. You shoot Trystan an amused look as you approach the manor's rustic doors. The doors open within seconds of Trystan ringing the bell, but instead of a butler, you're met by the familiar face of Naomi Gregesco herself. Prince Trystan and Chloe Rose, I believe. Welcome back. I think it's time we clear the air, don't you, Naomi? Her eyes rest on Trystan for a long moment, and they soften. She gives him a thoughtful nod. Perhaps it is time come. Eloise is waiting inside. Naomi steps aside, welcoming you into the manor. She leads you to a quiet parlor near the front of the house. Eloise looks up from a beautifully laid table. Prince Trystan. The two women exchange a look, communicating in a private language honed through decades of marriage. Finally, Eloise looks to Trystan. It's just as well, really. I've been trying to write you and your mother a letter to apologize for my conduct in court for weeks now. Countess Eloise. You have nothing to apologize for. I can't even begin to imagine the pain of losing a child. Indeed. I understand how desperately you wanted answers. After 8 years, I'm beginning to fear those answers may never come. Naomi puts a hand on her wife's shoulder, giving her a fondly pointed look. Which is why we're doing our best to look forward, not back. It's what Juliana would have wanted for us. Yes, it's hardly the conversation to have between reunited friends, and not at all the conversation to have over tea. Please sit. I thought you were supposed to be the heated one. I don't see it. Naomi glances at you as you take the seat opposite her. Do you attend teas often in New York, Detective? I'm afraid not. Well, I'd never known just by looking at you. I'm surprised to see you're still in Dracovia. I'd have thought there'd be no need for a famed detective to remain in once her charge was acquitted. From the way Eloise holds herself as she pours the tea, you can tell she's paying close attention to your answer. I haven't gone back because I'm investigating another murder. Eloise puts the teapot down with a shocked thud. A murder here in Dracovia, is that why you're here? Who was killed? She's gonna shoot you a warning look. Chloe's investigating a cold case that's been bothering Mother, a political poisoning from a few years ago. That hardly narrows it down. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have brought it up. It's not exactly polite conversation. It was my mistake for asking. Yeah, but it also makes them completely unaware of what happened. It's dull work compared with what she typically deals with in New York. Eloise sets a steaming tea cup in front of you. You follow Tristan's lead, adding a splash of milk and a lump of sugar. Tea having milk. Has anyone ever had that? Because I haven't. We took a holiday in New York once for Christmas. Juliana wanted to see the big tree in Rockefeller Square. Do you remember, Naomi? I remember that hat you brought her off a hawker. Hideous thing, glittery green with a tinsel pom-pom. She loved it. She was the sparkliest little girl in all of New York. The woman smiles sadly at each other over their untouched tea. No, remember you're not supposed to sip your tea until they do it. Share my own family story. You must have made Juliana's vacation. My dad only had to take me uptown, and I still thought he was a king for doing it. Your father took you to see the tree. Every year until he passed, but the first time was special. I had no idea trees could even grow that big. And then they turned on the lights, and I felt like I was in a storybook. My dad laughed when I told him that. Midtown is a long way from Middle Earth. Julie reacted just the same way you did. What did she say, Naomi, about the tree? I wish I could fly so I could be the angel at the top. That sounds just like her. I'm sorry to hear that your father is lost to you, Chloe. Thank you. I try to remember good things about him. It helps to keep his spirit alive. A warm feeling surrounds the table, and just for a moment you feel like you've made a breakthrough. Then Eloise sips her tea and looks away. We always meant to go back again, but time moves so quickly. Juliana was a teenager before we knew it. You exchange a glance with Trystan. This might be our best chance to bring the conversation towards Juliana's past relationships. When I was a teenager, all I could think about was dating. Juliana never had much time for dating. Even as a teenager, she was extraordinarily focused. But she wasn't studying. She spent most of her time volunteering or attending rallies. She was a remarkable girl. Really, she didn't date. Do we really go for the throat? No. Let's see if she has a good head on her shoulders. Let's see. It's art of misdirection. How did you manage to escape all the tabloid gossip growing up? By not doing anything gossip-worthy. She started volunteering as soon as she was 12, and she ran her first advocacy campaign at 15. Not much time for dating, then. Not much time, not much inclination. She understood Jacobian politics from a very early age. She knew an arranged marriage was her best chance to enact change. And she never rebelled against that idea? Juliana may have been progressive, but she also was ambitious. She knew what opportunity being wed to power would bring. Her biggest problem was that the eligible young man she realized she'd be most likely to be matched with. Until she got to know him a little better, that is. I didn't deserve her. On that, Juliana would have vehemently disagreed. And you? I don't know what to think anymore, Trystan. Naomi sets her down her teacup and extends her hands to Trystan. Trystan takes them, holding tight. I think that Julie would want us to bury the hatchet and welcome you home. Yup, Trystan make amends with the Gorgescus. Things are going well. We're so close. She always used to say that she wasn't home until she'd beaten you soundly at croquet. The hoops are already set up. Eloise looks uncertainly at Trystan and Naomi and then nods. Yes, play with us. Chloe can take Julie's... Chloe can play as our fourth. Charm the Gorgescus. Excellent. We'll play doubles, Detective. You're with me. Naomi, you can't put me with him. I'm sorry, darling, but I'd like a challenge, and you're it. No offense, Prince Trystan. None taken. I'd be honored to play with Eloise. Naomi takes your arm and leads you to a quick stride towards a vibrant lawn set up with 4 white arches. You eye the Countess as Eloise and Trystan trail after you, not speaking. Countess Gorgesco, you have to teach me what croquet is. Oh, that's all right. You're not the first clueless American I've ever been paired with. Who are the others? Let's just say I've played with several U.S. presidents, one of whom I called scratching his backside with the mallet. Was it Bush? Had to have been Bush. Which one? Telling you that would spoil all the fun letting you use your imagination. That or Clinton. You arrive at a corner of a lawn where the 4 mallets and balls are arranged. Naomi hands you a mallet. The rules of croquet are very simple. We play each hoop in turn, using our mallets to strike the ball. Once a player has run their ball through the hoop, they win the point, and we proceed to the next. And accidentally tapping the ball counts as your turn, so be careful with the mallet in your feet. Sounds simple enough. I thought there'd be more strategy.
Don't fret, there is.
Since you dressed for the occasion, Detective Rose, you and Naomi may play last. Is that good? Yes, it allows us to be more strategic, but Eloise already believes she can beat us even without an advantage.
I've seen Eloise play, it's not empty posturing.
Eloise shoots Trystan a briefly amused look as she collects her own mallet. Enough chit-chat, let's begin. Our first hoop is the opposite to a corner.
She lines up her sight, draws back her mallet, and makes a confident tap. Her ball sails through the field,
stopping neatly in front of the hoop. Wow.
Trystan whistles appreciatively as Eloise gives a demure nod. A minute later, Tristan's ball rolls across the field, overshooting the hoop by several feet.
Always too impatient.
She lines up her shot, tapping the ball gently. It falls a few feet short of Eloise's ball. Always too hesitant. You take your place over the remaining ball.
Okay, so the goal is not to go too hard or too soft. I should hit the ball with
care, enthusiasm, technique. So enthusiasm is Trystan.
Care would be Naomi, and technique would be Eloise.
We'll go with technique.
The ball rolls across the field, gently knocking Eloise's ball out of the way. Impressive. I haven't seen a first play like that since...
We know. I'm taking Juliana's spot. Lost a parent, she lost a daughter, we'll bond, yada yada yada. Since Juliana.
That's a flattering comparison.
Julie always believed in giving credit where credit was due. She would have cheered for that shot.
Then we should do it for her.
Without warning, Eloise breaks out into a loud whoop.
Woohoo!
Or as Mario would put it,
Yahoo!
Anyway, Trystan joins her as Naomi smiles at the catacomb.
Nice work, Detective.
You send the ball through the hoop on your next turn, earning another chorus of cheering.
Point to you, and Naomi. Our next hoop lies ahead.
As you play through the next few hoops, you're heartened to see the tension ease between Eloise and Trystan with every shot.
Darling, your grip is all wrong. You look positively boorish.
It is a relaxed grip. Julie said it would give me a smoother shot.
Across the field, perhaps, but for close shots, you need to hold your hands closer together.
Naomi watches them triumphantly, leaning in close to you. Her voice is too low to carry across the field.
Why did you really come here today, Detective?
You get the feeling that she won't punish you for telling the truth, but reopening the mystery of her daughter's death may sting.
Naomi, I'm following a new lead on Juliana's cause of death. So it wasn't an accident. I understood that Trystan couldn't have killed her, but it still didn't make sense for her to have fallen overboard. She was so good on boats. I don't want to get your hopes up, Naomi. It's not a definitive lead.
She shakes her head, glancing at her smiling wife.
You were right to come regardless, but I'm grateful that you didn't say anything to it in front of Eloise. She's working so hard to move on. So you'll help us? What do you need? Information. I believe the culprit may have been romantically involved with Juliana before her engagement to Trystan. Someone powerful. Maybe even another Thorn. The letter I read in court. I think it was meant for them. Juliana never told us about anyone else. As far as I knew, she hadn't dated anyone seriously before her courtship with Trystan. But you might find something in her room. We'll find an excuse for you and Trystan to go up there after the game. Are you sure? Yes. Anything to help you find who took our girl away from us. Whatever you two are gabbing about over there, you're holding up the game.
Enough strategizing, partner. Front up and lose with honor. So far, we're winning. Nice try, though.
It was a mistake putting the two of you on a team. I'd forgotten how insufferable you are when you're together. Liar. If you manage to score this one, Chloe, we can win the whole game.
No pressure, don't choke. Try to smile as you line up your final shot. Score. You swing your mallet and bring it down gently on your ball.
Well done.
The ball taps Trystan's out of the way and sails to the hoop. Rude.
That's the game point to you and Naomi. Very well played, first timer. What can I say? I was great at mini-golf.
Eloise offers you her hand and you shake it warmly.
The game clearly means so much to your family. Thank you for sharing it with me. You're welcome. It's been such a long time since I enjoyed playing it. And Trystan...
She bites her lip as Eloise turns to him. Her face once again serious, she approaches him, mallet in hand, and drops it. She wraps her arms around his shoulders, pulling him into a fierce hug.
I'm sorry I ever believed that you could hurt our daughter, even by accident.
Thank you.
We did it.
Naomi gives you a knowing look.
Eloise, I thought I might show Trystan upstairs to Juliana's room, give him a chance to say goodbye after everything we've put him through.
Eloise wipes her eyes and releases Trystan from a hug, but the prince holds on a moment longer.
Of course, I think Julie would have wanted that.
Naomi leads you inside, pausing at the foot of the stairwell.
Take as long as you need, nobody will disturb you. Thank you for trusting us with this. And Juliana was lucky to have such loving parents. That's kind of you to say, Detective, but I worry sometimes we didn't love her enough. If we had...
Trystan puts a comforting hand on her shoulder. I was always jealous of how close Juliana was to you and Eloise. You couldn't have loved her more.
Naomi gives you both a grateful smile and turns away, leaving you to enter Juliana's bedroom without a chaperone.
You head up together.
Trystan leading the way by memory. He pauses for the briefest of moments outside of her door, then swings it open.
Trystan stands still for a moment, looking as though he's been transported back in time. It looks just the way it did the last time I was here.
Is that surprising?
He shrugs, and you look around the room. Bottles of nail polish sit on a vanity, ready to be used. An unfinished sketch sits untouched at her desk, and a pearl bracelet on her nightstand still waits to be clasped to her wrist. The sketch is well made, rendered in watercolor. Trystan briefly draws a finger over where her brush once flew. Juliana was extremely talented in many great regards.
This looks almost like it belongs in Margaret's fashion house.
It very well might have. Juliana often spoke of how Mags inspired her. She was my sister's biggest supporter.
Next to you?
I would hope. But I also was a bit of a snob at that age. Margaret and Juliana were saints compared to me. You step away from the sketch, feeling your heart squeeze into your chest.
The pearls are casually coiled on the nightstand. They look as though they could have been tossed there minutes ago. Nice bracelet. Did she usually keep jewels out on display like this?
She wouldn't have it in any reason to hide them. She was adored by her staff, and this estate was a haven of sorts away from court. You tear your eyes away from the pair of pearls, focusing back on the task at hand.
You pick up the bottle of pastel pink nail polish. A thin, heavy ring of dust sits around the base, indicating it's been there some time. Was this nail polish special to Juliana?
It was her signature color. professional, but doesn't take itself too seriously, which summed up her quite nicely. He set the polish back on the vanity where he found it, careful not to disturb the dust. So it seems like she was really happy here. I get the sense that she was trapped in some sort of toxic, abusive relationship from anything here. She was a countess. She'd hardly leave anything damning out for prying eyes. Maybe her parents could have removed stuff like that? I doubt it. They mentioned they were shocked by the appearance of the letter and she hadn't dated much. Right. So, the other option, I guess. Trystan rifles through the letters, pulling out a pile in his own handwriting. I thought I knew Juliana better than anyone, just because we fell in love, but perhaps I never put in the work to truly know her. He unfolds a letter. It's in Dracovian, but you can see Queen Victoria's name followed by an angry splotch of ink. I mostly complained. I never asked for her better legislation, if anything was troubling her, so why would she confide in me? Trystan, arranged marriages are usually a little stiff. Is it possible the two of you found common ground to make the best of an awkward situation? There may be some truth to that, despite how real our feelings became. Forced proximity always was one of her favorite romance tropes. He offered Trystan a bittersweet smile. It's all he can do in the room so infused with her presence. Trystan takes a deep breath, centering himself. But we came to find evidence if Juliana wrote letters to her lover, then they also wrote to her. Trystan upturns the box, spilling the rest of the envelopes onto the desk. The majority of them are written in pink, bubbly letters. There's a smattering of several other hands throughout. Okay, we knew Juliana was popular. Do you recognize any of this handwriting? The pink would belong to a fledgling martyret. Here, let me translate. I can't wait to visit. I've been waiting to show you my new collection. You should be the first to see it before the debut. Trystan nods, setting the letter aside. You unfold a second and another hand, and passing it to Trystan to translate. Let's see. Complaining about me, complaining about Lydia, complaining about Patrick, complaining about a basket weaver. Oh, yes, this would be Astrid. Like an old letter with Sebastian's signature from the pile. This is from around when the Act for Hair Equity fell through, right? Trystan peers over your shoulder, frowning as he reads aloud. As much as I believe in what we're doing, I wish we could run away together. Maybe to Greece. You said you wanted to go back there, right? If that's Sebastian's idea of romantic overture, then I failed him as an older brother. I think any evidence would be hidden away. If Juliana and Sebastian were ever a thing, this isn't the letter that proves it. Trystan pulls the envelopes neatly back into the box. You're right. The twins said her letters were explicit. She would have hidden any equally salacious replies. Are we sure the twins weren't making that part up to upset you? Having received several of her letters myself, I can confirm she could have had a healthy career in writing very filthy books. But if Juliana was involved with someone, she'd have been a teenager at the time, an embarrassing age for us all. So we're not digging deep enough, or looking in the right places. You spread out methodically, checking behind frames, books, and finally beneath the bed, where you spot an overflowing basket of old toys. These seem decidedly youthful. Trystan drops down beside you, grimly plucking a deranged pink pony with a sparkling mane from the basket. Yes, Juliana never divulged her girlhood obsession with ponies, but she did keep diaries her whole life. It should be there. He pushes a basket aside and pulls out a small, thick notebook. You sit back against the wall, examining them together. Moment of truth. Trystan cracks the diary open, flipping past a page or two, and you're surprised to find a recess carved into the pages, and inside, a whistle, beautifully carved from dark wood to resemble a small bird, its beak poised in eternal song. This is a Jacovian nightingale. And that means there's an ancient symbol of star-crossed lovers in our country, but it wasn't something Juliana or I identified with. The birds mate for life, but considering what easy prey they make for hawks, many of them spend their lives mourning their lost loves. So the twins weren't lying. Juliana was definitely involved with someone. Trystan gently traces the card, wings the wooden whistle. As he turns it, you can hear a piece of paper rattling around inside. It sounds like there's something in there. Can you pry it out? Trystan hesitates, his fingers shaking as he shakes the bird, listening to the rattle with trepidation. I don't think I can do it. I can't stomach whatever it says, at least not without your help. Diamond choice. Of course. Hand it to me. Trystan drops the bird into your palm as if it's burned him, steels himself for what comes next. You ever get tongue-tied sometimes? Yep. If it's just awful, just rip off the band-aid, please. You stick your pinky into the hole of the bird's neck, prying the old paper out of the nail. The note crackles as you unfold it, and the paper's stiff with age. Okay, here it is. A single line runs across the page in a neat typeface. The gift giver hasn't even left you a handwriting to identify. Should you ever have need of me, you know how to find me. Huh, is that some kind of saying in Dracovia? Trystan's trepidation gives way to confusion. He takes the note from you, turning it over in his hands. It doesn't ring any bells. Perhaps it's meant to be taken literally. What, like Juliana was supposed to sound the whistle and the person would appear like Romeo in her garden? Trystan gestures to the whistle. It's often said that their song is the saddest in the Bird Kingdom. It's rare, but it's been known to bring grown men to tears. You raise the whistle to your lips and blow. The sound that spills out is a heart-breaking cry of loneliness. Way too sentimental for a thorn. This whistle sounds like a breakup gift. Maybe. It's gloomy, I know, but it's a symbol of hope rather than despair. It may have even been how they profess their feelings for Juliana. I love you, even though we'll probably never work out. Exactly. If it was one of the siblings, they would have known that someone as high as ranking as Juliana would never be promised to anyone but the heir. And she accepted the gift anyway. If only we could establish a date for when she got this or when it was made. Maybe Ruby can help. Trystan takes the whistle from your hands and turns it over, revealing a maker's mark stamped on the bottom. This was the mark of the local craftsman. He only worked for royalty. Is he dead? Yes, but now we know that Caspar was telling the truth. Juliana was involved with one of my siblings years ago. She may have even loved them. Trystan... If they killed her, we'll make them pay. Slowly. Trystan stares moodily at the wooden bird. But we're still no closer to knowing which of my poisonous siblings did it. The twins took on a magpie as their bird. Could another sibling have identified themselves with the Jacovian nightingale? Not that I'm aware of. Then we go off personality, drama, and unrequited affection. Sebastian seems like a pretty fair candidate. But he and Juliana make no sense. He'll say anything to get what he wants, no matter the cost, and she... And she wanted the same thing he did.
maybe there was a time when she agreed with his methods. Or maybe he wasn't so bad in the beginning.
I'm not being obtuse, Chloe. There's something about it that just doesn't feel quite right.
Maybe she wrote about whoever it is in her diary.
Trystan gives the whistle one more last contemplative look, and then carefully tucks it away.
With that done, he revisits the diary, flipping through the pages. You sit quietly, giving him space to read through the private thoughts of his former fiancée. His eyes scan the pages, suddenly his eyes grow wide, and a hiss of air rushes through his teeth. What is it? Did she mention them?
No, it's quite a bit more shocking than that. Trystan clears his throat in a numb voice. He reads, if what I suspect is true, and the Queen does have a love child not born of the King's blood, then it could change everything for the act of the hair equity.
So that's probably one of the reasons why they put it on hold, is because of that. So without further ado, I think that's it for the end of the chapter. Thanks for watching. Much love, appreciation. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment down below thinking, or letting me know what you think. Yes, thinking too, but letting me know what you think. Yeah, I had mentioned in a previous thing that even the Queen was not beyond my scrutiny. And yeah, puts her kind of like on the mark. There's a possibility that whatever, love born of, I believe it's wedlock or whatever they call it, that it's possible that, they might be the child that's behind all this. Or the Queen might be covering it up, or who knows. Or maybe, there's more than meets the eye. Don't even, look otherwise than the King. The King may be sus as well. That's how this stuff works. Without further ado, thanks for watching. Catch you all later. Peace out.